G'day folks and welcome to the channel. My name's Matt and I'm creating an adventure along with Lena here, and we're illustrating it as we go. This episode is going to introduce you to the Ghost Elves, the race that might take you deep into the old swamp. Today we have a special guest, my partner Lena, who's been helping me world build and illustrate, and I've given her a task to create a new faction. And she's been doing that. And what we're going to do is get Lena to tell us what she's doing and show you what she's been doing, and it's going to blow your mind. So no pressure, Lena. So tell me how you dealt with creating something in my world where you know I get very protective of my ideas.
Yeah. Because Matt has been developing this world for many years, 10, 15, I don't know, and swamp area is only a tiny part of it. I try to be sensitive to everything I do inside it, and even though Matt gave me complete creative freedom to design Ghost Elves the way I want, I still know that there is a bigger picture that I don't really know, and so it's somewhere here. And because Matt think that it's kind of obvious, but it's not, because I don't read his thought necessarily, not always at least.
Most of the time.
I just try to be to come up with ideas, and then, you know, if they don't work, just let them go, and not worry about not being attached to them necessarily. And it helps to be to have background in advertising, because in advertising you come up constantly with hundreds of ideas and they go nowhere. They're just being killed, and you kind of get used to it, and you're not feeling as precious about it. So with Ghost Elves, I'm trying to be the same and not being too precious about my ideas. The cool thing about the Ghost Elves is that they are isolated from everything else, and they are almost the world inside the world, because they're not interacting too much with the rest of the swamp, and they want it to be this way. So because of this, it kind of gives me a little bit of freedom, at least.
Well, yeah, that's so true, because they're like a self-contained little world that even if you come up with wild and crazy ideas, it doesn't sort of impact, say, the heron folk or other creatures out there, because they're such a shy, reclusive race that have developed on their own. There's really two factions of the Ghost Elves you've developed. There's like the refugees that have been pushed out of the old swamp and are starting almost a new life and world in the young swamp, but there's leftovers in the old swamp. And we're not going to tell you about them yet. That's going to be coming up. Lena's still developing them. We're coming up with some really cool mechanics on how players can learn the shamanistic ways, but they risk taking in this corruption. But do they push their luck and see if they can gain these abilities to see further into the swamp, or do they become corrupted themselves? So we've got a cool mechanic for that. But this episode we're going to talk about the elves in the young swamp, which are more sort of the youngsters looking back on the old ways and almost rejecting them, right?
Yeah. Now I talk again.
Elaborate. I mean, we've actually developed one specific NPC that the party could interact with that sort of is a representation of this bridge between the old ways and the new ways. So we haven't named her yet. If anyone in the channel comes up with a name,
okay.
But we'll tell you a bit about her first. Whoa.
This girl, she feels that she definitely feels the calling for shaman, but the whole shaman culture has been lost because it's been left behind in the old swamp, corrupted swamp, and shamans were not able to move out of the old swamp for the reason that I won't tell you for now. So she's trying to find a way to get back to the old swamp, to find the shamans that legends say still exist, even though the tribe left the old swamp a few hundred years ago. But no, where the problem comes, because I'm like, 200 too much?
Well, like corruption's been around 100 years.
Okay.
So there'd be a bit of a migration where they tried to stay, the corruption spread, and there was maybe a huge backstory where the old and the new clashed, and some said, I'm leaving, and others said, we're staying and we're going to make it right. And there was a lot of resentment because they felt abandoned in the old swamp, and these new ones now have turned their back on the people in the old swamp. But yeah, as you say, she wants to get back there, and she's one of these headstrong characters that is pushing her luck basically with this new tribe. She has got some contacts in there. She's got some old people that support her, but largely the old people have been almost dismissed as in the past, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and the legends say that those shamans, they're immortal, but of course no one believes this rubbish. So she eventually might invite the party back to the village to meet her grandfather.
He's a bit of a character.
Yeah.
And he's got my legs. They were used as reference.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's pretty cool. Also, to note is this Ghost Elf village. You've concepted some stuff out for that. So we'll show you that. These villages exist in the treetops, and Lena did a lot of work on figuring out how the Ghost Elves get around in the canopies. And she's designed these villages, which we'll show you. And there's going to be remnants of these villages in the old swamp, which you might notice in one of our little video clips that Lena did in VR, by the way. She's taught herself virtual reality and hand-painted all these scenes in VR so she can walk around in them to create these amazing villages and give us a great concept on how everything fits together. So when you were designing the Ghost Elves, what kind of things did you take into account and have to think about in terms of, say, how they function and work in a canopy type environment?
When Matt gave me Ghost Elves to design, what I started from is the environment. And first I actually started drawing the environment pieces to try to envision how they live and where they live, and build how they build those tree houses, and what they do to survive in this harsh environments, and things like that. So, and only after that I started to go backwards to the characters and thinking, how would that environment force them to look like as well. And what I was thinking, they need to be really good climbers, so I added some claws on their fingers and toes.
In Russia they call both of them fingers.
Yeah, so so I need to remember to call
toes.
the toes, not fingers.
Yes.
And I wanted them to also look quite cat-like, which I'm still working on. So they climb very easily, jump, and feel also very athletic, very strong.
And you're giving their hair like a mane-like quality.
That's
and
right.
stuff like that.
That's right.
Which ties really well into that.
Yeah. So kind of wanted all this line feeling to them as well.
So how do you see these Ghost Elves interacting with the world around them and dealing with this corruption and in this young swamp? How do they still survive in this area?
So it just comes naturally for me to think of what's behind all their sort of ways of living. And what I see is that they have sort of philosophy that they believe in the balance of all things. So they don't want to judge as something being good, bad, wrong, right? They think that everything that lives in the swamp survives only in the balance. And that's why I think I'm going to talk about it more when I come to crocodile hunters, but they treat all the creatures with respect, and that affects all the things they do, how they farm, how they live, how they treat animals, creatures, plants.
It's a shamanistic almost way of living, isn't it? Where they see everything as balanced. And I think crocodiles are a great point. They don't see them as evil or bad. They pay them the ultimate respect and have a whole philosophy around dealing with them and hunting them. And which is really cool. Episode 2 on that. Let's talk a little bit about how the farmers and fishermen work, because they've got a almost cool mechanic, because they're dealing with not only fishing but fungus and algae and stuff found within the swamp, right?
So because they live in the canopies, everything is around their fishing, farming, or anything to do with food gathering is connected to climbing up the trees and down. So they use the vines. So the trees has the kind of like a structure that the vines grow from all the branches to create support, extra support for the branches of giant trees. And that's also, those vines are also used for building the houses. So you might have seen those tribes that use them to build the bridges, which I use as a reference, as an inspiration as well. So the cool thing about it is that the longer this bridge exists, the stronger it becomes, because branches grow stronger, and they become unbreakable. And it's kind of the opposite to what we humans do, because it kind of goes the other way around. So they use those vines to build bridges, to climb, to do anything. And for them, it's also, they worship those trees in a way. So they have face paint. I forgot about this. The face paint, not only face paint, but also body paint. And sometimes they cover themselves with a pattern that resembles the vines, the lines on their body, to connect almost the visual with their beliefs and ideas. So to go down the swamp, they use those vines a lot, as you can see in the pictures, and they also built those bridges. So I used a lot of the existing cultures to draw this inspiration from, those amazing people who live in the forests and thrive there as well. With the face paint, I really like those face paint, you just see those images on Pinterest, and I love those. But what I was thinking, what is the reason behind all this fun looking stuff? And so we come up with the idea that they're using a special berry that grows deep in the swamp, that's called blooming fog, I think.
Language.
This berry allows to gives some protection to the ghost elves as well as other creatures who knows about it, and it can be prepared, which I talk about later on in the next video, but specifically. But it also can be just, the juice can be put on the surface of your skin, and it almost works like nicotine patch. Yeah. So the skin absorbs the elements from the juice, but it's protecting from some toxic stuff that those berries consist. So that's kind of that's an example of how the visuals drive the ideas, and that creates the whole other things around it.
Yeah, and I've found that a lot, not only with drawing a concept and thinking, oh, what I had in my head isn't cool, how do I make it cooler? And then you add things and then you're suddenly creating a whole new element. But I found it with maps as well. So with people who aren't as, say, creative drawing, I still say develop a map of your village, like say Roost, and that just starts to generate ideas of what should go in this space, why would these people gather here, what dictates that. We basically work in reverse. We try to create cool things by illustration, then think, okay, how can that work in the world? Which I think is a pretty cool process.
Yeah, well, we kind of work both ways, of course, as well. And sometimes ideas drive the visuals.
Yeah.
But then if those visuals don't match to what we see in our head, then that needs to be adapted and changed.
Yeah. And with an image, there's just so much more to talk about as well. We'll look at it and think, oh, why is this? Why have these lizard people got blue scales and the other ones got red? And what, when you design a plant that might be halfway up a tree, will almost come up with an idea of how do Ghost Elves deal with this? How do they get that? And it just starts a discussion, starts generating ideas. So yeah, big recommendation, sketch out everything. Even if you're not a good artist, sketch it out and it'll generate ideas and help you with your world building.
Yeah, and practice is the main thing anyway, so it doesn't matter how good we are, we still have to practice, and that's how we improve anyway.
Yeah, and grow really old.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Okay, wrap it up.
Okay. So thank you very much for hanging out with us and meeting Lena. Thank you for joining us, Lena. You're awesome. Lots of details in the description below on how you can follow us when we come out on Kickstarter. We've got our own website where we write these up and include the artwork. And I'm going to leave a link to Lena's portfolio because she's done a lot of work for our past adventures. We can see art process there. And she's working on her own projects as well, which she can go into more detail on her channel.
Yeah, well, eventually I will. Not having time at the moment to do any of it. But I will.
You will?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Bye, guys. Thank you. See ya.